holiday season's coming up. Do you have any advice for people approaching maybe their first holiday season on the diet, or people kind of similar to you, where it's November or October, and you're like, man, I really want to get started with this, but gosh, the social events coming up are pretty big.
Yeah. Again,
Is there
because of
any
COVID.
tricks
Yeah.
you have to that, or any advice you'd have for people that are approaching this time of year and they're thinking about kicking this off?
I mean, I ate a lot of chicken wings because I really love them. So, I mean, find something that you love and just treat
Not
yourself to
fried, I'm
that.
assuming, right?
Um, I put them in the air fryer. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
not deep fried, like no
Not deep
batter or
fried.
anything,
No
right?
bad. No, but they were pretty good all the same. Um, and really just treating yourself to other things that are enjoyable to you, whether that is the tea or whether it's, I don't know, like a bath for some people, or I don't know, just different ways that you can treat yourself, I guess. I'm not sure that it will ever be easy. It's hard to see other people eat foods that you really love. And holidays especially are they're just so social, and so it can be difficult. I think just acknowledging that it's difficult, and then also just knowing for yourself what you're trying to accomplish. And it really is just a mind over matter. It sucks. Yes, it does suck. But I want to see the results of this, so I just need to keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the preparation is key
No.
for going into it. Just knowing that, yeah, it's no matter what time of year you do it, it's going to be hard.
Totally.
And there's always a holiday, there's always a birthday. But I suppose, one way to look at it would be it's November 25th. By Christmas, you could be a month in, and
Yeah.
maybe you'll be feeling, hopefully, you'll be feeling much different. But even
Sure.
if you're not, you'll still be 4 weeks in rather than starting at day zero. And
Yeah.
that's
I
a long
always
ways on
recommend.
chicken and broccoli.
I always recommend really just starting like you said. I mean, you've got nothing to lose except for if you stay inflamed, you're going to lose mobility. You might get more permanent damage. I mean, it will always be difficult. Um, yeah, it's really a mind game that you have to play with yourself, I think.
Yeah, I think it's unfortunately for people who are having AS or similar conditions arising, it given the two paths, there's not it's not like there's an easy path and a hard path. It's kind of just there's two hard paths here. You
Yeah.
can choose to either go down the massive dietary experimental route, and hopefully you can find it. That's going to be difficult in its own, but odds are you should get some level of symptom relief, especially if you're coming from a not so good standard American diet. Even if you just cut out the most egregious offenders, you'll probably find that you feel better to some extent. But of
For
course,
sure.
that will be difficult. It's going to take a lot of discipline.
Yeah.
But on the alternative side, not feeling so good and continuing down the progressive path that AS and other conditions can provide is it's also not going to be very easy.
Yeah.
A lot of
And
people lose their mobility in ways that they'll never get back, and sometimes that's ways that prevent them from ever, being able to do some sports or activities again, and
yeah,
that's
for
to
sure.
me that
And
sounds
then
harder.
I agree, and then there is also, of course, the alternative, which is really more mainstream medical, where you go on the biologics. But I think for you and I, when we were first diagnosed, um, we were still pretty young. You're younger than me, but the idea of um, being on those pretty hardcore meds for the rest of your life, I mean, the risks and side effects, that's something to consider, right? So, I mean, everybody needs to choose obviously what works for them, and I'm not saying that diet is the answer for everyone, and I would never expect that, but I do want to encourage people who are considering it, like, it's worth it. There's a lot of improvement to be gained, and I think it is worth pursuing. In the end, a diet change is hard, but I always think what needs to be grieved is the disease and not the diet. So often people are like, "Oh, the diet is so hard," and it is hard. Um,
Yeah.
but the alternative is a disease that's eating you up, and so, there's no stopping it. There's no easy out here, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, so,
unfortunately, there's no easy out, and
yeah,
I also think some people can become very dogmatic about their approach to remedying like AS and other similar conditions in a way that a lot of people are just all or nothing for it's either okay, you're only going to do the like modern medicine like
yeah,
pharmaceuticals, or you're only going to do the um,
natural.
like the natural dietary approach.
Yep,
And I also think there's a lot of room for both out there in the sense that if you're already on the medication and you
yeah,
feel like pretty good,
yeah,
I think there's just it's would be so worthwhile to experiment with the dietary aspect of
I
it because
agree.
maybe you go from feeling 60% better to 100% better,
Yeah,
and maybe you couldn't come off your meds, or maybe you can even just lower your dose,
yeah,
and that right there could be hugely beneficial for the rest of your life.
for
And
sure.
some people maybe they get diagnosed very, very late, and they're so immobilized that maybe they just need to go on medication right away. But
Yeah,
I think a lot of people kind of get on medication and they just kind of completely write off the whole nutrition and lifestyle side of it, and it leaves so much on the table for
absolutely. Yeah. I remember, if I'd had access to medication when I was first diagnosed, you better believe I would have jumped on that. Like
yeah,
it wasn't, I would have chosen that. I wouldn't have thought twice about it, but it wasn't available to me. And so I kind of stumbled upon this, and I thank God for that now, where I'm like, man, I'm glad that, medication wasn't available to me, at that point. Um, but even now, there's always this idea of where, like, if ever this doesn't work out, then thank goodness I still have medication in my back pocket, right? So
yeah,
there's really no judgment towards people who, for whatever they choose, everybody, I mean, it's a struggle, it's a battle. And so trying to figure out what works for you, and that may include medication and it may include dietary changes. There's really no judgment. It's really up to each individual how they want to live with a disease and the consequences of how they treat it, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's quite a few people of course, they're very likely could be a vocal minority too that are in the camp that diet does nothing for the disease progression, like, oh,
Mhm.
you can't cure it. It's a completely gene-based, condition, and, you yourself and many other people are living proof that, there's something going on here, and it seems like maybe just because you have the gene doesn't necessarily, well, we already know just because you have the gene doesn't mean you develop AS.
For sure. Yeah.
Maybe it's the fuel for the fire, but you don't have a fire without a spark. Something else needs to take place to get this going. And, maybe it is diet, maybe it's a whole list of things that happen to you from when you were a little child all the way till you're an adult, and eventually your first little symptoms start to pop up. Like